Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for your patience. We're so excited. I know that a lot of people are still filing in. I think we are over 500 people now, and the sun is shining in upstate New York, and we are just super excited to celebrate a very momentous birthday. Routefinder PLUS turns 1, and that's always a huge, that first birthday is always a big one. I want to welcome everyone, and just before we get too deep into our event, I want to introduce our panelists. We have a full slate of speakers who are going to talk about their experience with Plus, and these are what you'd call the early adopters. So they jumped on board early and have really more than just kicked the tires, really put it into place. Many of them have even talked about how they couldn't have opened in the fall without Plus, which is awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers. Steve Slate, he's the transportation supervisor at Hornell City Schools in Hornell, New York. Bob Hiss is transportation maintenance supervisor at Jefferson Local School District in West Jefferson, Ohio. Renee Martin is the transportation coordinator at Valley Central School District in Montgomery, New York. Richard Carver, he is the transportation maintenance director at Gravette Public Schools in Gravette, Arkansas. Steve Leslie is the transportation director at Osceola School District in Wisconsin. Ryan Cothran, director of public safety and emergency services at Spartanburg District 5 in Duncan, South Carolina. And Nathaniel Spence is the transportation supervisor at Somers Central School District in Somers, New York. And did I miss Anthony Mendoza? Sorry. Tony always got my back. You know what? It's Anthony. It's the Tony. You got to watch out for the Tonys. That's the key thing. I did that on purpose because I wanted to really give a shout out to Tony Mendoza. He is the transportation director at Lincolnshire-Prairie View School District in Illinois. So thanks so much for all of you participating. We had a wonderful dry run last week just talking about your stories, and we've got a lot to share. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time introducing someone, they always say, who needs no introduction. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Transfinders President and CEO, Antonio Civitella. Give it up for Tony Civitella.
Woohoo! Thank you, everyone. And I do go by Tony, so as soon as I saw, like, whoa, we missed the Tony here. You know, like, so it was great. So great seeing everybody. We have a packed day here. I can't believe we turned 1 already. And you know, if you speak to my mom, by the way, she believes that the birthday when you're first born, you're really on your first year. So you technically, right now we're on our 2nd year. So there's like this huge debate every time there's a birthday. How old are you? So really, it's always 1 more year. And sometimes it worked great when I was younger, but now it's like, can we do that backwards? It really should be the opposite. So we are now on our 2nd year. So I'm going to make my mom proud. We're on our 2nd year. We just finished our 1st birthday. So it's exciting. And guess what? We're already talking about what's next. So as we talk about Plus, there's already another thing we want to talk about. We're about to release. So some of you are going to get we're doing a small release this weekend of a selected group. And then then a weekend after that, they're going to, all of you that actually have Plus will see this new thing. Yeah, you remember those things in Pro, and some of you that are in here are in Pro. We actually didn't bring in the exceptions. We felt like calendar-based routing was going to be awesome. What are we talking about? Why are we doing this thing? We don't need exceptions, so we just had calendar-based, and there's all these additional requirements. But from really a lot of feedback from all of you that have been using Plus, guess what? Exceptions are back, which means on top of our calendar base, which we all think it's amazing, you can now do anything you want. You can do whatever you need to do to create. And by the way, you could create these exceptions right on a schedule grid or right in a routing palette, and you could do whatever you want. So really, regardless of any criteria. So exceptions went away for a little bit, but they're back. We think they're better than ever. So I can't wait till you guys can check it out. In addition, a lot of you have been doing a lot of imports. And by the way, we really made the import procedure so much better for those of you that are using Pro. There's so many different criterias. But we realized that for geocoding, you want to be able to alternate, especially if you have like multiple files coming in for special needs, regular ed. So guess what? You can now identify each files, and some of you have multiple files. I know it went crazy, Rick. And we want to be able to bring as much data as possible. So now you could literally change how you want to geocode. Address points is going to be my favorite. Parcels is my second. Address range, my street address range, my least favorite. So I just want to make sure you guys know that. That's not my favorite. It's actually my least favorite. Don't use address ranges. It's a range. It's all guess, not guess, but it's interpolated and it's math. I don't like it. I want to be precise. Let's continue with that. A lot of people want to be able to go from the schedule grid, want to be able to just see right away, are there exceptions? Because now you're going to be able to have all this data. So we want to make sure that you could easily identify that if a kid does have an exception you just created, you want to be able to see, aha, Tony's got an exception. We want to be able to easily see that. A lot of feedback with the email and mail merge. It's been great. I tell you, the student schedule has been now enhanced. Now you can put a lot more with the student schedule. So if you're going to email to parents or do a mailing, all that stuff is in there. What else we got here is the grids. You could now you've been doing all this geo selection, but it was all that data. Well, now you could just right click and just send it right to a grid. So now you could easily see that data. That's cool stuff. What about the routing palette? A lot of you are using that palette. Of course, that's how you do routing now in our new system. We want to make sure that it's easily identifiable if you're picking up kids, dropping them off, or none. So we've made some UI changes to make it look even easier. So let's go to next screen. User default routing settings. A lot of you guys are routing like crazy. I mean, I think we have a count. We're probably should get a count how many trips been built in Plus at this point, but it's thousands. I wonder if it's millions. I wonder, right? I know we have millions of, for sure, of miles in our systems, but a lot of those things, quick settings, that way you could just build trips even faster. And remember when you first got Plus, how quick it is to build a trip? Well, it's even quicker now by just having some default. That way you don't have to just keep picking the same thing and over again. Like, wait a minute, I've already said it's a 2-school trip. Let's just keep doing that. So those are all type of things that are going to be really nice. The student requirements, of course, a lot of those things that when you create additional requirements on the student side, we're even defaulting that, hey, if the student attends a certain school and you defined a school calendar, well, let's not let you go outside that school calendar because that's the definition. So the default stays within that school calendar, and then you can make some adjustments. Again, we want to make it go faster and faster with version 2.0. Again, speaking of fast, in Routefinder Pro, you could pick a dozen, or you could take all your morning trips, and you could right-click copy and create an afternoon version of it, and also even reverse. Well, we didn't implement that feature in Plus, so now you have it. You could right-click on the grid as many as you want. You could right-click, and you could just create, the afternoon version or the reverse, or just want to play some what if and just make copies. But instead of one at a time, which that's all you could do in Plus 1.x, well, now you can do as many as you want. So we think it's a massive feature. Again, these are all feedback from people, right? They're giving us these feedback saying, hey, I missed that feature. So thank you for all those things. In addition, we've done a lot with transfers and shuttles. Remember, it's all calendar-based routing. So we've done a lot with that. And so now people are using shuttles more than ever. Guess what they're saying? Well, we've created these non-eligible zones, and you guys are having so much fun with that. Again, these are areas that you could just lasso or really create a walkout zone that this is the non-eligible zone for school. And by the way, you could create multiple criteria. I could probably spend 2 days talking about just non-eligible zones or NEZs. Well, now even shuttle trips respect those things. So a lot going on with Plus 2.0, right? I mean, tons, right? Let's go to the next screen, please, Bridget. All right, here's a transition. The unassigned students, again, some of you have been in some of these client summit meetings. We'd have so much fun, and I missed those. I can't wait to have those things back someday, soon, John, right? Uh, but I talked about those blue dots. I think some of you are probably giggling, chuckling, and probably thinking, blue dots. Well, I've always talked about these blue dots. If there was any blue dots, which means if kids didn't have to take the school bus to school and back, we may not even have this meeting, right? If there's not so blue dots technically keep us all employed. So we love blue dots. They're unassigned students. We've made even bigger enhancements. I can't wait till you see what you could do with the unassigned student section in Plus 2.0. I tell you, you guys, a lot of you have multiple products. You have Viewfinder, you have Plus, of course. You're now getting StopFinder Admin. You're getting all these product, a Trip Finder. You're getting all these Finder products, but you got to go back and forth, open up one products. If you have like 10 kids in Plus and you want to send parents a notification, you got to like, all right, I got those 10 kids. Go to StopFinder Admin, pick those same 10 kids, and then do whatever I want. Well, guess what? You could be in Plus. You can make a change to a trip, right click and say, open that exact same record set in another product, and it just does it, which is beautiful. So now, yeah, you could go back and forth between products, but you literally could say, open up these 10 kids and StopFinder Admin because I want to send a notification just to those 10 kids because I was just in routing. So very fast. And by the way, it's seamless. And we want to make sure that as you buy more of these products, we don't want you to learn like, oh man, there's another product, another Finder product. It's okay. So another big thing in Pro, you would have your name, right? You would have with the data source name right up on top. Now it's actually, it's not there. It's right in the browser tab. So I think, now the data source name, and of course you could still have as many data sources you want, but right in the browser tab, it's got the name. So cool. Lastly, which I love this, it's an option. So if you inquire, if you're looking for this option, you can now see live traffic in Plus 2.0. So if you're interested, please let us know. It's something that we need to turn on based on, different users. And, traffic is cool. It's live, and something I like to use when I'm driving around and so forth. So it's cool things there. And really, this is a big feature here. We have unlimited user fields. I think you guys know that. Unlimited. We've now created a new functionality called unlimited user defined forms. These are forms, literally it's questionnaires, but we added another twist to it. It's not just asking questions and then people could answer them based on whatever you define, but we want location based, which means we know where they did it. Now, where did someone actually answer this questionnaire? So it's location based attribute. So it's really knowing the location where these forms were actually entered. And that gets me right to the next product. So the next screen is what's going to come at no cost to all of you. You already have Plus. It's now Form Finder is a new product that comes with Plus. We're promoting this product. Again, it's a companion. It comes free with Plus. It's forms. So now this product lets you enter all those user-defined forms if you create it in Plus 2.0. What does that mean? There's a couple things some couple of use cases, and I've already talked to some of you, and it told me giving me even more ideas, but you could definitely track driver certifications. It could be a form out there. Again, it's mobile friendly. You could even use pre and post trip inspections forms. So you could create these forms and then someone could do this. Obviously, there's other ways to do it. You could use a Zonar pre-trip inspections with a really nice tablet. So those are really cool. But you also could just do a normal, take your sheet of paper and turn it into a form. So all those cool things. Student conduct, time and attendance. Yeah, you could literally have a form that drivers have this form they could just fill in when they came in, when they, it's almost like a time clock. And really, it's any survey you want. So this is big thing. We call it 2.0. I know, like, you're supposed to be celebrating a birthday. You're talking about the next product. Well, that's our job, right? Yeah, we're celebrating 1-year-old Plus. I feel like we've been working on it for, as you know, we've been working on it for many years. I think this is officially our 5th year that we've been working with Plus. So it is one 1 year old because we released it to all of you guys, and I want to say thank you to all of you there. You give us so much feedback on that. Thank you so much. So I want to talk about 2.0, probably another 4 more days, but I see Rick next to me saying we got to move on. We have a packed schedule.
Thank you so much, Tony. One of the comments we got in here was, love your energy, Tony. And I'm like, if he got more than 4 hours sleep, I don't know if we could contain him. So thank you so much, Tony. There is a lot, and we'll probably be talking a little bit later. If you have functions and features you'd like to see in Plus 3.0, there will be time at the very end to put that in the chat. And I didn't mention the chat. I want to make sure I do mention this. We're going to be doing some trivia. In fact, I'm going to have a trivia coming up right now. Question, and the first 3 people that get the right answer are going to get some amazing products like this phone holder. If you can see it, I'll put it in front of my face so you can see it. And you got everyone always loves the squishy buses. Those are always a big fan favorite. We got the phone lighter, what is it, the jack, the power jack for your car, which is got an umbrella, prepare for those rainy days, and there's other stuff. So first 3 answers on the board will get those products. We got a bunch of questions through. I'm going to start with the first one just to get rolling here, and that is, what year was Transfinder, which was then known as Fourth and Associates, what year was Transfinder founded? And the answers. Oh, a lot of great answers. Go ahead, can we see the answer, please? The answer, please, is yes, C, 1988. Well done. Well done. All right. So we're going to kick off our first panelist. We're going to be talking with Steve Slate. So if all of our panelists, by the way, could now come on camera just so we can see your faces, and also, you got to be now you got to look like you're paying attention. I know that you may be multitasking because everybody multitasks. We get that, but we're going to start with Steve. And Steve, you had mentioned that in some respects, COVID presented a good time for you to implement Plus, and you mentioned how your district, the landscape of your district, has really been changing, and that Plus has helped you during this time, this challenging time. So, can you give us a little bit about how Plus has worked for you during this time?
Yeah, I think everybody in New York State at some point at the end of last year was wondering where we were going to end up, what we were going to be allowed to do in classrooms and things like that. And we didn't really get the information until late June, early July. So in order to prepare for September, the ability in Plus to assign kids, A, B, and C days. And again, we went from having 41 routes to 82 because we had different kids on different days. I don't know, honestly, if we could have done it before without having Plus, because the transition made it kind of seamless, really. It was really easy to work with, really easy to duplicate routes. Because we were going, on an A day, we were going places. On a B day, we were going to the same places. We were just getting different kids. So the ability to, copy the routes and do those things was tremendous help with Plus. And again, I don't know, honestly, how easy we could have done it without it, really.
That's awesome. You'd also mentioned that you cut your routes in half, correct? Using Plus?
Well, now that we're back with every kid every day, then again, we had to make the transition back to, every kid every day. So we went back the other way. And then again, then we could overlap the routes and see what stops were on a B day compared to an A day, and then overlap them and then bring them back together so that we could make that transition seamless again.
That's awesome. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is flexibility. It gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think you mentioned it too, but the ability to be not anchored to your desk here, because in the some of the COVID days, we weren't in the office. So to have it web-based so I could do it at my house if that's where I was working from was tremendous also. It just made it so much easier to be at home, working from home, which I know a lot of people were. It just made it a lot easier to work from home.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much, Steve. Our next speaker is going to be Bob Hiss. Before we get to you, Bob, so make sure you unmute yourself. We're going to go to our next question. And this is, What year did Transfinder hire its first intern? So the choices are 1989, 1990, 2001, or 2010. So put your answers in, please. What do we have? Am I seeing some of the right answers here? A, very good. And the answer is A. Very good. Well done. Well done. All right. So Bob, I really love this word you used when we had our conversation last week. You said that literally Plus was a godsend. So that's huge. You mentioned how Plus has made your department more efficient. And I was just wondering, tell us, how has your department become more efficient as a result of Plus, and any other stories that how Plus has worked for you?
Well, we're a relatively smaller school district, running about 1,200 kids in all of our buildings. And up to the 1st of November, everything was paper and pencil. So you can imagine what COVID was like, trying to get 600 kids to and from school a day, A schedule, B schedule. It almost became a nightmare trying to figure out who's on what bus. We've got crazy restrictions on COVID from our health department, on seating arrangements, how many kids. So we have all these different requirements, and we're still sharpening a pencil in the machine. And we've got a new treasurer on board this year who's younger, more tech savvy. And I pitched it to him and said, look, I'm a one-man band. I run 3 or 4 different departments by myself with no clerk. Can you help me out here? And come the 1st of November, we got Transfinder PLUS on board, the Routefinder. And within, I would say my goal was January 1 to get all of our data in the system, routes done and go. And we actually beat that. So right before Christmas, I had everything in. Drivers gave me all their feedback, and it's worked really, really well. And the fact that we can build our own sheets to kind of look like the original paper and pencil. You know, I've worked with our support team to do the reporting. So we would take a report and we built them exactly the way they look when they're using them now. And then as we're progressing, we've modified things to provide more information for the driver, whether it be a coach's name and phone number. So it's so much better. In fact, I was even able to get the treasurer last month to get us on board with Tripfinder. So now we are just about 100% all paperless. So we've gone from 100% paper and a pencil to everything electronically.
Wow. 21st century.
Yeah.
I think you might be on a future panel for Tripfinder. So be ready, Bob. I'm going to be giving you a call. But thank you so much. That's a great story. We really appreciate it. That's awesome. Our next speaker is going to be Renee Martin. But before we get to Renee, we got to have a follow-up question. I mentioned that we had our very first intern back in 1989. So who was that very first intern? Was it A, Joe Rossi, B, Steve Jobs, C, Tony Civitella, or D, Charlie Brown? I see some D's in there.
It's gotta be Charlie Brown.
No, the answer is Tony Civitella. He's the rare person who the intern who became the CEO. It's truly a great American success story. Coming to a Hallmark channel near you someday. All right. Our next speaker is Renee Martin. And when we asked, I just talking and asking if people could give their stories of what they love about Plus. Renee, you know that one person in school who always did her homework, or his homework, was usually the girl, I got to be honest with you. And then if the teacher didn't collect it, by the way, they raised their hand and said, Mrs. Rogers, you forgot to collect our homework. Renee, I think, was that person. But I asked Renee what she liked about Plus, and I really do not even know where to begin with her. But she just said that she was using another product. And when we refer to another product that's not Transfinder, we don't use the word solution, because it's not a solution. We're the solution. But it was another product that created some problems, and that you felt like Plus was really user-friendly. So Renee, tell us your story.
Yeah, the old system was anything but user-friendly. We're in a district with 4,200 students approximately. And every day we would come in and find that 500 students dropped off their routes. So it was impossible to keep up with. Sometimes a route will pull a student from across town onto a bus. And we've had the instances where the system would be down for 3 days at a time during especially critical routing periods. So with Plus, we got stability that we needed, the stability in our students staying on the bus, not falling off the grid, stability with the accessibility of the system, and the customer service response time. Our implementation coordinator was the best. I think, so we became more efficient in those ways as well. We, in the old system, you couldn't see all the routes at one time. In this system, you can. And so there was a lot of duplication of stops that we were able to get rid of. I do like what Bob said about paper and pencil. We were kind of going toward paper and pencil until Routefinder came along. So the biggest advantage, I think, was the routing that we did. We had we went to different databases or data sources, and we put in our hybrid, we would put team 1 in one data source and our team 2 in another data source. And that gave us a very quick view of how many students were actually scheduled to ride a bus, and that helped us keep within the CDC guidelines and gave the drivers a clear piece of paper which kids are getting on buses on the different days.
Outstanding. Good stuff. Guys, I think we just hit the tip of the iceberg of Renee's list. So if you want me to send it to you, I will, because it was a lot of stuff. Thank you so much, Renee. That's great feedback there. Richard, you're going to be our next speaker, but of course we have to do a trivia question first. So you can unmute yourself while I'm doing this. The next trivia question is, the characteristic, now we're getting into some Routefinder Plus specific information here. The characteristic of a door-to-door stop prevents students from having to cross the street. What do we call this characteristic? Is it cross prevention? Is it the driver yelling? I had that growing up. Is it cross arm, or is it right stop pickup? So put your answers in now, please. And the answer. Yes. Who says D? We have some D's in here. Very good. Did I see any driver yellings in here too? I did see a couple driver yelling. Good. Very good. So it is right side pickup, letter D. Great question. So Richard, when we talked the other day, you mentioned that your day doesn't tend to end at the end of a school day. You're not at the office, but you sometimes take work home with you. And you said, browser-based Plus has definitely helped you with that. Just want to tell me a little bit more about your story.
Well, last year, our district lost all of our servers. So when we had Pro, I lost everything. So when that happened, luckily Plus came along, and we did get our data to merge into Plus, and then COVID hit, and then of course a lot of us worked from home, and we did work from home, so that the Plus made the best advantage for us is so I could be on the go and work from home. And Plus, our servers, the way they were, it worked to our advantage to having a web-based program. And that is the best solution for us.
That's outstanding. Thank you. So did your staff was also working from home and doing all the routing from home, and it was seamless?
Yes, sir.
That's great.
We've been very fortunate. I mean, we've had Transfinder for a lot of years, and the merge into Plus just worked the best for us.
That's outstanding. Thank you. That's great stuff. And you said there's a couple items you mentioned that you like, specifically in terms of features.
I like the idea of being able to eliminate routes. So that feature has worked really well to manipulate those and see the big screen with more routes, multiple routes open. than what we had with Pro. It's just easier to manipulate the routing.
And you also like the customizable reports as well, correct?
Yeah, we've done some of that, but we're getting to the tip of the iceberg of that. We're just getting into that right now.
Very good. Good stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Richard. All right. So our next speaker is going to be Steve Leslie. But of course, before we go to Steve Leslie, we have, what do we have, Tony? Oh, trivia question. So let's hear this next question. Travel scenarios in PLUS are comprised of curb approach, travel regions, and blank. I always hated blank questions because you actually had to know something. Like multiple choice, at least you could guess, but blank. So is it A, turns, B, maneuvers, C, district policies, or D, non-eligible zones? And the answer is B. How are we doing on this grading here? I see some B's here. Very good. Excellent job.
A lot of bees.
I do see a lot of B's there. All right. So Steve, you mentioned quite a few things again when we spoke last week about PLUS, such as the ability to easily move in and out of databases. You said filtering was a lot easier. Tell me again, how has PLUS worked for you, and specifically how what features and functions you love best?
Well, I think database movement made my life a lot easier because I've gotten a lot of comments from support when I've called in is, wow, you got a lot of databases. And that was when I was in Pro and this, and it's because I like play areas where I can have everything the same, but make adjustments and see how it comes out. And then I can make an intelligent decision based on what's working best in the database that I'm using. Filtering, I was a filter klutz until PLUS. It's just so easy to drill information down with it now that I feel like I've gotten way better with it. Making changes, I think I routed because of the COVID situation and all the changes with our capabilities of how many kids we can transport, where they had to be seated. I think I rerouted 7 times in July, and it just made it that much easier to, again, have a database where I can keep making adjustments, and so that I can go back to the one that I want to like. The other part I kind of like is I did a special project over the Christmas time for one of my schools. They wanted to do a special thing because at the time they were completely closed down for the month of December. So the teachers wanted to get out and do something neat for the kids. So I was able to route the teachers out so that they could get to each child's house to do something special for them. It was really a cool thing to do. So just made things so easy. I was a Pro user beforehand and I loved Pro, but I was excited when I saw PLUS and decided it was the right move for our district.
Thank you so much, Steve. I wish we were keeping track of how many times we've heard the word easy or easier. Have you heard it? Have you been keeping a tally over there? So thank you so much, Steve. That's great. Good stuff there. Our next speaker is Anthony Mendoza. If you could go off mute but before we go to you, Tony, of course, we have to go to our trivia question. This PLUS action allows you to change a large number of data records at one time. Is that A, mass update, B, copy, C, palette, or D, user-defined field? Oh, listen to that music. It's very intriguing. Transition area is A, mass update. All right. I see a lot of A's on here. Very good. So I'm assuming all these people have used mass update.
So if you have Pro and you went to PLUS, can I throw this one in there? What's it called in Pro? Because we changed it. We thought mass update is a better terminology. We have a term.
Global replace?
That's right. Global replace.
Can we give an extra present for those people?
Someone should definitely get something there. So
okay, I see a lot of global replace.
Yes.
Well, This is a smart group of people here.
Very smart.
This is I love, I got to say, I do love this industry and I love our clients specifically. They're smart people. All right, Anthony, you used another product. Tony likes to refer to people who go from another product as brand X or brand Y or brand Z. So you used brand X, and you mentioned that you liked working in Plus and specifically being in multiple maps at the same time. I know that's just one thing you mentioned. You mentioned a bunch of things, but tell us a little bit about your experience with Plus.
Brand X or brand horrible? We won't go there. We won't go there. I like with Plus that we're able to have different routing maps open. So we can, have different AM and PMs open and just switch them back and forth. And you can have as many routing maps open as you want. So that's incredible. And you can move the tabs around so you can put them in different order as needed. So I really enjoy that.
That's great. Super. Thank you so much. Did you say you want to say something, Tony?
I talked about, because I was just inquiring, like, how many trips we have in the system. So the team just sent me a text. So, Rick, what do you think? Just a wild guess. Should we just throw some?
Can you give me
guesses out
multiple choices? I told you I don't like to fill in the blank numbers questions.
Is it tens of thousands or is it hundreds of thousands? What do you think?
I'm going to go with hundreds of thousands.
Good. Is it 100, 200, 300, 400? What do you think?
I'm going to go 400. I'm going to go all the way.
Close. 328,322 trips right now. And I'm sure somebody just created one as we were speaking. So 328,322. And obviously there's a lot of data sources. So I bet you when you add up all those data sources, we're in the millions. So
that's awesome.
Very cool.
That's the latest information. All right, rip from the headlines, as they say. So, Ryan, you're going to be next up, but before we go to
someone
Ryan,
just deleted one. It said someone just deleted one. Sorry. Sorry.
That's funny. All right, so Ryan, you're going to be next up. But before we do, we have what, Tony? We have a trivia question. We got to give a little jingle for that.
Trivia.
So, Transfinder recommends that you create a new one of these for each new school year or session. That's A, maps, B, screensaver, that's always helpful, C, data source, or D, district policies. Lock in your answer. And the answer is, okay, C, data source. Do we have some C's? I see a lot of C's on my screen right now. Outstanding.
They were actually doing it before you even read.
I know. These people are smart. They really are. Ryan, you are also involved with boundary planning, and you said one aspect about Plus that you like is the map canvas. So tell us your experience there and anything else you want to share to how Plus has made your life easier.
Yes, absolutely. So when I first come to the district, we didn't have any software at all. And we were looking for software for routing. We were doing everything on paper, just like one of the other panelists. And we picked Routefinder Pro because one of the reasons was we knew it was going to be growing and wanted to do boundary planning as well. It was included in it. So when Plus come out, I was real excited just watching the map canvas. And we're finally getting to the point where we're getting ready to build 2 new schools. And we're changing our grade structure. And just been able to go in and create those different map canvases with data source and change the grade structure and start looking at our numbers and redoing our boundary lines has been great with Plus.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. So we are at our final panelist, but before we get to Ryan, before we get to Nathaniel, sorry, we are going to have we have a bunch of trivia questions at the end. It's almost like when you think about the fireworks and you have the grand finale and you want to have we have a bunch of these at the end, rapid fire. But before we get to those, we have one last one in our first segment here. Transfinder, hang on, we got the next question. There we go. Transfinder often connects to this portal in order to get the most up-to-date student information for routing. A, Facebook. I'm sorry, I got it. Yeah, sorry. Oh, I gave it away. B, cloud. C, real estate database. Or D, Student Information System? The answer is, oh, seen a lot of D's. Lot of D's. Very good. Yes, a Student Information System. Well done. Well done. Nathan, I'm not going to say a whole lot to introduce you because you told us that you had to push your district to get plus, which we love to hear that. So tell me why? Why were you pushing your district to get plus, Routefinder Plus?
I was
What is it that you
relatively,
like about it now that I know you don't have buyer's remorse. So tell us what you like about it.
we definitely don't have buyer's remorse. I started new here at the district right as the pandemic was starting. So one of the concerns that I had was what's going to happen in September. So we didn't really get our student schedules set until 2 weeks before school was set to start. So I had to input all that data by myself into the computer system. Having the offsite capabilities was very important to us, even though we had a VPN. When I was on the VPN with our pro version, it just was lagging and dependent upon our connection at the school. The other thing that I'd like to say is we had a few people help us that were retirees from other districts that knew Routefinder Pro. The amount of time that I had to spend with them to teach them plus was little to no time at all. Myself included, I was so impressed at how easy it was to go from pro to plus, and the increase in data capabilities that plus had. It really was the reason why we were able to open school as successfully as we did in September.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great story. You know, I'm going to ask the panelists before we go, we have some rapid fire we have 3 final questions. And then also, if you, as an attendee, so you're not one of the panelists, but you want to come on camera, if you go into the chat, is that correct, Bridget? They should go into the chat to be brought on camera. So type your name or just say, I want to be brought on camera, and you can say a few words as well. We'd love to have you do it. So you can do that right now before we get to the final questions. But panelists, is there anything else you wanted to say? I know when we were talking the other day, some of you piggybacked off each other, and I said I promised you I'd give you an opportunity to do that once we were done with our formal presentations. Or anybody want to say anything else that's jumping off of anything the others had said? Renee, I know you have something you want to say. You're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. No, I don't think I said it when I spoke, but I heard somebody else say it, and I don't know that we would have opened school on time without Routefinder Plus, period. It's what made it happen. We had just a couple months to turn the whole system over, and it was so easy that we were able to do that.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Renee. Anybody else?
I want to make a big shout out to the training and support specialists. They do a great job. I've been through a couple of trainings, and every time I call my support specialists, they're extremely helpful. They get back to me right away. And I've had other programs that it just took a long time to, you wait forever to hear from them. These guys call you back right away and at least let you know, hey, I'm going to get back to you at this time. And it was nice. It's nice to work with people that way.
Thank you so much for saying that. We talk a lot about how our support is our secret sauce. And Tony, I'm not just saying this because he's sitting next to me. I will tell you, he has said many times that, you know, when his son was 5, I remember you saying this about Alessio, that a 5-year-old knows bad support, knows bad customer experience. And so he drills it into everybody here that we treat each other the way you want to be treated. The golden rule, right? Anybody else?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, one thing I'd like to throw out there to districts, I mean, when we started using this software, you know, I've been battling with a previous treasurer for years because we're a small district. And one thing I would say to districts that are our size or smaller is that no matter how small your district is, this software can really help your operation become efficient to the point where the job is seamless. You know, they always used to tell us, well, you know, the roads in your town never change. But I always try to tell them our clients do. And the tracking, where you have apartment complexes, you may have 30 kids get on a school bus, and next year you may have 20. So it's a battle, but I think smaller districts could really benefit from this just as much as districts that have 10, 15,000 plus kids.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much, Bob. Good words. Dave, anybody else first on the panel before I go to some of the folks that just hopped on? I know, David, you're my first in the queue. Anybody else want to say anything from the panel side? All right, David, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us on this birthday celebration.
Everybody loves a good birthday party.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that just to kind of echo what somebody else just said, our support through this changeover from our old routing system to Routefinder, it's been amazing. And we were kind of almost a district that was really, we had kind of a routing software, but we really weren't using it, and it was more paper and pencil. And Katie came along when we bought this and helped our routers go from like 0 to 100. We've also bought a solution that we've paired with Routefinder to bring turn-by-turn navigation onto tablets that are mounted in our buses. So now we don't have spare drivers driving around in circles for hours trying to look for a basement apartment or something crazy like that. And really, I think that at least in the little old state of Utah, I think we're probably technologically the furthest district ahead in technology. So we went from the very back edge of technology kind of to the front edge, and there's no way we would have figured this out without Justin and Katie and those guys really kind of just kicking it through the goalpost for us. So I would recommend Transfinder to anybody.
Thank you so much, David. We got some great comments here too, kind of piggybacking what you said, David. Thank you. One person said, thank you for making this upgrade, Transfinder. And then Cindy, I really like this quote, said that Transfinder, for all the support and thank you for all the support and help. Nobody ever makes me feel dumb when I ask a question. I mean, that's not a small thing. You know, I think that we all have questions sometimes, and to be able to ask a question and not feel like, you know, belittled, I think is such a huge thing. So I appreciate that comment, Cindy. And I hear Michelle O'Reilly is my hero. Bob Jabanowski is a rock star. So awesome stuff. We do think of you as family. I can tell you that. That's a fact. I want to go to our rapid fire questions. We'll have time to, I think, come back on camera. So if anybody does want to come on camera still, you got a couple more minutes to do that. And then Tony's gonna close this with some words, and then we do have a cake. So I don't know how we're gonna move the camera over to the cake. So you're gonna work all that, all right? So so let's do our next trivia question. And it is, bus drivers should complete this review prior to starting their routes for the day. Kick the tires, A. B, pre-check. C, play Candy Crush. I'm doing pretty good in Candy Crush right now. And D, drink Vente. Is it Vente or Vente? I don't know. Cold brew coffee with cream and 2 sugars. That's going to be a tough answer for some people. What do we see? All right. I hear the right answer is B, pre-check. Super. Well done. Okay, we're going to keep going. Let's move it on to the next question. What is the new trip type in PLUS that accommodates midday trips? Is that A, morning, B, afternoon, C, both, or D, transfer? Lock in your answers, please. And the answer is C, both. Well done. I see some D's there. I see a couple B's too, but I see a lot of C's. Well done, everybody. And then the last question of the birthday bash. What was the original name for Routefinder? And by the way, somebody kind of gave it away earlier. So is it A, Transfinder FM, B, Bus Finder, C, Info Finder, or D, Transfinder? And the answer is Yeah, Transfinder FM, you threw that in as a little, like, throw it off a little bit, not too, yeah, that's correct. It was Transfinder. Tony, you were part of that experience.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why you did that?
Well, so it was, the product was called Transfinder. So when I bought the company, I became 100% shareholder of this company. I renamed the company to Transfinder because it became, known as Transfinder. Then of course we rebranded everything. As you guys know, we thought Routefinder. We come up with all these finder products, but we internally still call it Transfinder. And by the way, the crazy thing, even brand new employees will call Routefinder while they're using Transfinder. So it's almost like, so I think it's natural. I don't think it's muscle memory and saying, hey, people just remember a Transfinder. Get over it, Tony. No, it's even new employees will say, well, they're using they're going to use Transfinder soon. It's like, well, they're going to use. So it's funny. We chuckle with that, and obviously we don't really care if you call it Transfinder or Routefinder, as long as it's using our products, and we appreciate that so much. So yeah, there's a lot of comments about that stuff, and if I had a dime every time we use Transfinder instead of Routefinder, it's okay. We obviously we call that Plus. I think most of you now know it's Plus because it's more than anything. And we went back and forth. We had an opportunity to revamp the name. Like, maybe we should go back to call it Transfinder. I mean, I think we thought about it for a couple of minutes, but they right away like, no, we want people that have Pro feel very comfortable that it's going to be a transition, as a migration, all that data. And we spend a long time to make sure all that data did convert. And I think that's such a big deal for doing that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of you have seen what's going on with our systems and how we've upgraded, and we're just started now. That was a big push to get Plus out the door a year ago. We got so much done, as you know. You some of you are very patient, and we got a lot done. But now we're really stretching our muscles. With Plus being out, you'll see so many other products are going to be coming up to speed at the same time. So we're super excited. Do we have someone else that wants to come on?
I want to make sure we ask that question. Anybody else still want to come on screen? If not, I think it's time for cake. And I'm going to actually mute myself if we're going to sing happy birthday, because nobody wants to hear me ever sing anything ever. But John, are we singing happy birthday? Okay, so without. All right. So we're moving over to the cake right now.
Can you still see me? Can you still hear me? Right? Can you guys still hear me and see me? Good. So then I'm just dismantling everything here. All right. I don't need power, so we're good. I didn't lose anybody yet. I'm going to get up. It's live. Holy cow. Woohoo. Oh, by the way, I think I have an update here. Let me see. I asked what's our trip count, so I'm going to get an update before this meeting's over. Remember, it was 328, 322. We're going to see how many we've added. All right. So here we are. We got some noisemakers. John, say hello. Is John here? Bridget's doing all the back end here. And of course, there's Rick, right? We got everything here. What do we got here? We got the cake. I think I'm going to do like this, like that. All right, blow it out. Ready? I'm blowing right here. Can you see it? Ooh, I'm dripping. All right. Good. Okay. Ready? Gonna cut the cake. Oh, get some close up. Remember, wants to get a picture. You guys get a picture of this? Can you get it right on there? Is that how's that work? Yes? Woohoo! Want to see my get close? Ready? I'm gonna cut right underneath the plus sign right here. All right. Woo! All right. How's that? That's a big piece. Joe Rossi, this is a big size for you here. All right. Good. I think we'll do the rest later. I'm going to try some of this. Right? Good. Very good. All right. I think we did good. Right? Oh, we got some, ooh, wow. Got some confetti coming down. Yes. Cool. It's all over me, my laptop here. Awesome. Well, is there anybody who wants to come on and say hello? Well, guys, we celebrate every day here. We will, we'll share some cake virtually. I gotta tell you, it was delicious. I just had some frosting. It's delicious. Thank you for your support, guys. This is a big moment for us. We waited a long time for sure for this bash. So we want to thank to everybody, especially all the panelists. Please, my big thank you to you. Spent a lot of time. I know you worked with the team here just to get your thoughts together, and really, I got to thank all of you that you give us so much feedback. And obviously, we built 1.0 based on your feedback. But I tell you, the feedback that we received since we released the product is even more important. So thank you. Please don't stop. Keep giving it to us, because I tell you, we're creating so many products at this point. I've heard some of you guys are talking about navigation, attendance. There's so many cool things. But today is about Plus. It's Routefinder PLUS, so we want to celebrate it. And we really want to celebrate with all of you that made this happen. So thank you for your time. Have some fun. If you get yourself a little cake or something sweet. My father always say, don't worry about a diet. Start that on Monday. Today's Tuesday, so don't even worry about it. You got really until Monday to worry about that kind of stuff. So say hello to everybody for me and your offices, and thank you.